Welcome to the Necronama.com, where we're spending all of October looking at 31 episodes of the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror. Today, we're looking at Treehouse number 9 from October 25th, 1998. I am James Sabata.
I'm Don Guillory.
And I'm Thomas Brungardt, and you're hearing me do something, speaking, which is something that Jason should never do. And at the beginning of this episode of Treehouse of Horror, they have a cold open with Freddy Krueger and Jason on a couch, and Jason fucking speaks, and I hate it.
I don't have an opinion on it, because apparently I've been skipping intros.
I'm okay with it. It's one of those things because well, I shouldn't say we all are comfortable with Jason not talking, but it would be interesting to see what his voice would be like. And as as I've talked to the two of you about this before, I think it would be funny to have him, I don't know, similar to the Herbert the Pervert on Family Guy, or I think his name is Lance or Steve or whatever, the guy with the earring, like just out of nowhere. That's the voice that you hear. But I think it's kind of it works for me in this sense. You know, if this is the next Friday the 13th movie, I don't want fucking Jason talking.
But Friday the 13th, 12, Jason speaks.
Oh, man.
But okay, so I want to know now.
Voice of death.
In your mind, what would you want Jason's voice to sound like? Because to me, I would love it if he had like a really down south Creole accent.
I imagine he probably sounds like Sloth from the Goonies.
Now I'm just picturing Jason running after teenagers yelling, "Hey, you guys!" I'm gonna go the opposite direction. I would like a super intellectual, just using huge words and an amazing vocabulary. Just because if you're going to fuck it up, I mean, we might as well go all the way on this, you know?
Well, so that was my point. It's like these treehouses of horror are supposed to be to celebrate horror. And I feel like you're just bastardizing a character because you don't really understand that character. Whoever wrote that gag isn't a fan of that series. So, like, why do that to people? Don, like you were saying, like it's one thing to give them a voice, but I don't like that. I feel like it should be left up to the person whether they want to think about that or not. It's the same reason, like, I don't watch music videos, because I want to be able to come to my own conclusion what a visual of a song should be, not what, like, some fucking video producer says it should be. You know what I mean?
So you're anti-November Rain? It has nothing to do with the fucking song?
This is a great video. So I want to change my answer. I want Jason to talk like comic book guy and just be like, worst machete ever. You know, like I think. No, I don't know. I don't know if it's a not understanding him or if they thought it was a clever twist because he doesn't get to talk. But like I said, I skipped the intro. I literally don't remember ever seeing this in the past. And so I probably shouldn't comment on it too much. But I feel like it's probably something they thought was funny and just doesn't come off right.
Let's get into the episode then.
All right.
If you told me that my favorite part of this episode would be Homer getting hair, I would have thought you were nuts. But HELL TOUPEE, number one, great pun. I love puns, so I'm all over this. But Homer. So Snake, who's been in a ton of stuff, he gets arrested. And for some reason, he gets capital punishment for something that doesn't seem that bad to me, but okay. And
wasn't it 3 strikes? It was a 3-strike thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and he threatens everybody that's there. He's like, "I'm gonna kill you, and I'm gonna kill you, and I'm gonna kill you," and then he gets killed, and his hair gets donated to Homer, and Homer has it infused, and then Snake basically starts overtaking him through his haunted hair. And I don't know, like the whole concept of this is so fucking ridiculous, and yet it's so horror and it's so Simpsons. And it reminds me of like those crazy stories that I would hear as a kid, like, like some murderer's arm like got sewn onto a guy and then it was killing people, that kind of shit. So I love that they did this, and this is probably my favorite part of this episode.
I love that the toupee gets shot like a dozen times, like like James Caan in The Godfather.
Or that Homer decides to punch it while it's on Bart's face.
The sideburns are arms.
Yeah, everything about this is just hilarious to me because it's so fucking ridiculous. I do hate that the line that made me giggle is the most obvious fucking joke ever, and I hate that it made me giggle, and it was, "That's what I call a bad hair day." And I was just like, I can't believe you fucking went there. That's a joke I would have written when I was 8. So I hate myself for laughing at that.
I like those penicillos they had at the Quickie Mart.
Something where we've gone past is kind of where the oh my gosh, the Fox, and I shouldn't just say Fox, but TV itself, but Fox was notorious for this. By having those extreme TV shows and, world's deadliest car chases or most extreme car chases and world's deadliest animals. Like they were just going with the sensationalism on Fox in the late 90s. And I love the fact that the Simpsons make fun of Fox so much through the run of this show. That even when Snake is going to be killed for having strike, it's going to air on World's Deadliest Executions, a TV show hosted by Ed McMahon on Fox.
I'd like to know about the least deadliest executions.
It's the one
that just takes forever.
Obviously.
The failed executions.
Oh, man. But yeah, like that cracked me up as well. But just the overall, like, why the fuck does Homer's face become Snake's face? Like, why would the hair control that? Can anybody answer that for me?
Well, it seeps into his brain, as I think Lisa points out later in the episode. It seems the hair has taken over his body.
It's very obvious, guys.
Of course it is. That's why we don't need you to explain it, Lisa.
And he starts wearing like the tight white undershirt with the cigarettes in the sleeve. Saying things like, "Hey, chickie pie."
Yeah, I don't have a lot on this one. Do you? Anybody?
No, I always just like the animation of the hair. I always thought that was hilarious. It's, yeah, like you said, it's absurd. It's so ridiculous. I love it.
All right.
I was just gonna say with this one, at least it's a fun way, as opposed to just with some horror films where they've done that with a heart transplant. I remember seeing some movie where some killer got killed, kind of the same circumstances, but they decided to donate the heart, and the heart was now controlling this guy, and he was becoming who that person was, some serial killer or some shit. Where it's kind of like, that doesn't make any sense. At least with this one, it's the hair. The nerve endings that probably would have been in the hair are seeping into the brain, or at least going into Homer's brain and controlling him, which is a lot more fun than, oh, this guy had a heart transplant and now he's got the heart of a killer. Like, okay.
It's a great title for a book. The Heart of the Killer.
Is that going to be on the Hallmark channel, this Christmas?
I only watch Lifetime, Don.
Oh, okay. Not TLC.
All right, you want to take us into the next one?
Yeah, so I wanted to do this one because there's something very specific I want to talk about, but I'll give the synopsis. It's called The Terror of Tiny Toon. Bart and Lisa get their hands on some plutonium, and they use it as batteries in the remote for the TV, and they end up being put in an Itchy and Scratchy cartoon, and it's this world where Poochie still exists. And, Homer gets a hold of the remote, and he's trying to save Bart and Lisa, and he's flipping around channels, and they end up at, like, the Regis and Kathy Lee at this point show. Rest in peace, Regis. And eventually, they're just trying to get out of the TV. But I wanted to talk about this one specifically because it's the first time in Treehouse of Horror that we've come across Itchy and Scratchy. And there's something I wanted to bring up with you guys, is that Itchy and Scratchy throughout the series is a horrifying thing, not just because of the violence in it, but because in the Simpsons world, Itchy and Scratchy are photo real. Like, these are real cats, and like it's a real cat and a mouse. So it's these children watching the equivalent of a real cat and a real mouse just absolutely destroy each other week in and week out. And it's
I've never thought of that.
It's so much more terrifying and haunting to think of it that way, that when they're watching, like, you know, somebody get chopped in half and you see their insides, like, that's supposed to be like a real cat.
No wonder Marge is always so pissed off that they're watching it.
Yeah.
Huh.
But I know on the show...
I thought this was all build up for Homer's toolbox.
Oh, I love... Was this a Skittles episode or the M&Ms where he trades everything for M&Ms or Skittles? Is that this one? But I know, like, on the show they have, like, Itchy and Scratchy Studios where they have Roger Myers and his team animating, but the idea of this cat and mouse being real is just really scary to me. I don't know. What do you guys think?
No, that's creepy. I've never thought of that before.
I'm still trying to process that because, especially from talking to James about it, a couple of movies that I've watched that involved real kills, or at least real animal kills. So I'm like, this is one of the few times that I was actually nauseous from watching a horror film. So I could imagine like how they would have reacted to it, or at least how Marge is still reacting to it. But these kids now, they've become desensitized to the cat and mouse. I guess just horror, the gruesome nature of it, to the point when they get in the cartoon, they're laughing, and the reaction that Itchy and Scratchy have is like, "Wow, you guys are assholes for laughing at this."
That makes so much more sense.
Yeah. And us as viewers, we're watching it like, then what the fuck were you doing it for? Why were you, doing all this stuff episode after episode if it wasn't for, you're the sick one cutting up this cat every fucking time or blowing him up or, any number of things.
I would just like to say that I think it's amazing that out of everything The Simpsons ever did and the crazy explanations they have for things or things that absolutely would never happen, why does it make perfect fucking sense that they would have plutonium in their house? But it does, Homer works where he works. He seems like the kind of guy that would fucking bring it home and put it in his toolbox. Everything about this makes sense. And I think that's crazy after everything else they've done.
I could imagine Marge polishing the plutonium when she finds it.
I also want to point out that I love the piranha hose. I think that's a great gag.
If the two of you, if it was, I guess, the same circumstances, what TV show would you want to be, I guess, thrust into, or what would you not want to be included in?
The Girls Next Door.
Is it the one you don't want to be in?
Either way, you can take it as the answer to either question. It works both ways, yeah. I would like to. I would just like to be able to use it to like go to sports games and get in for free. That'd be great.
Holy shit! That's
a good one.
But I'd probably use it for something stupid, Be like go to the news and like ruffle somebody's hair and run out. I can't be trusted. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Just put me in one of those put me in one of those Paris Hilton shows.
But Don, we know yours would be 90 Day Fiance, so that's cool.
Yeah, I would roll up with a bucket of popcorn and a soda, just sitting there like, "Are you done this time? Are you really done this time? You said you were done like 30 episodes ago. Are you done? Are you going to leave him here? Are you going to leave her here? Are you sure you're done?" No, I think what my real answer would be with that, because I would be able to get out of it. it would be able to go into like some historically based movie, because that would be the loophole of being able to time travel. Go into some historically based movie, show up, and start nitpicking stuff that's not correct.
So you just want to be an asshole throughout history.
I mean, it's the safe way to do it, right? You know, I go into, let's say I'm sorry to do this to you, James, but if I were to go into the movie Back to the Future, right?
Oh, man.
I would start so much shit. Like, as soon as Doc Brown does the whole, I don't know how they found me, Marty, but they found me. I would say, you've got your fucking name on your van, dumbass. That's probably how they followed you.
But it's not even it's not even Libyan, Don. How did they read it?
Look, he's an old white-haired man in the middle of an empty mall parking lot with a big van that has his name on the side.
How is he friends with a high school student?
I have a lot of questions about that as well.
Oh, there's so many questions about that whole story.
There is some grooming going on.
I would stop Biff from getting the almanac. I mean, I would just screw up the franchise.
Fuck that. Get the almanac and tell me when the Canucks are going to win the Stanley Cup. I need some hope in my life. So my fake answer would be just following Paris Hilton around. My real answer is I would love to be in like Law and Order SVU.
Oh,
why
God.
SVU?
Yeah.
I love all the Law and Orders. The original Law and Order is classic. I love like the first 10 seasons of SVU. To be in that world with like Stabler and Munch and Benson, just week after week of rape case. Oh, I would just revel in it. Not the rape itself, but just the fact finding.
Just catching all these guys. Catching women for that.
Oh, and maybe To Catch a Predator also would be a fun one, just to popcorn.
Oh my God!
Popcorn and soda in the corner. You know what? I've been watching those during quarantine just because they're on YouTube. And what's funny to me, this is way off topic. What's funny to me is that these guys get there and they expect to see this 14-year-old girl, and Chris Hansen's like, "What are you doing here?" Like, she said she was 14. None of these guys ever plead dyslexia. They're never like, "I thought she said she was 41."
Good God.
But I'm in the wrong house. But you know, pedophiles aren't that smart. So,
well, that's why they're there in the first place.
Yeah.
Don, though, I'm surprised you haven't made like a career pivot to be like a K-1 visa specialist, just so you could meet these people like right away before they get to TV.
No. I would love to just be the host of like the wrap-up show or whatever the reunions and stuff, because the people who host it never ask really good questions, and I would just start so much shit. You want ratings? I'm going to give you ratings. All right. So let's jump to the third.
My favorite line in this skit is, Homer, you're not going as a hobo again. Going where? All right, go to the third one.
All right. So going on to the third one, Starship Poopers. Basically, Maggie starts teething. She has one little fang. Through the course of events, King and Kodos arrive and announce that this is his daughter, and that she needs to, he needs to recognize her as his daughter. Marge explains how it happened, and we eventually end up going on to Jerry Springer, which was a very popular television show at the time. To, I guess, settle this dispute or just deal with this issue. I love this episode I love this act of this episode because there's so much stuff that works if you were from that time period. If you were watching stuff like Jerry Springer, or and just the circus that was around that fucking show. I mean, this guy even had a movie because of this TV show. A very shitty movie, by the way, but a movie about the Jerry Springer show called Ringmaster. And I think they changed his names because they couldn't use like the licensing of the show or something. But it was all the same stuff. It was, I'm sleeping with my mom's boyfriend and she doesn't know. And then the mom comes out there and she says, oh, well, I'm sleeping with my daughter's boyfriend and, his twin brother, but I love that
Hugo.
Yeah. This is a great way to capture American pop culture in that time period. And it's a really cool time capsule as well. But this is another one that doesn't age well.
No.
If you know Jerry Springer and everything that's around it. I think it worked for some audiences because you could just have this as like a generic talk show like you would typically have on The Simpsons where, they have their own version of The View and they have their own version of, the weekday talk shows and things like that. If you don't know who Jerry Springer is, it could work.
I don't really care for this one. To me, it's the kind of thing that would work really well as like a side joke.
Okay.
Like if there was a whole rest of a skit here and then like Maggie just has tentacles and somebody finally fucking notices. Like, that's funnier to me. But what I think happened here, I was reading in the episode before this one, the year before, Kane and Kogos almost got chopped and they wouldn't have been in the episode at all. Their cameo was barely there. So I feel like the writers went out of their way to make one about them so that they had to be in it. And if that's what saved them and got them in everyone after this, then I'm all for it.
Well, I like this one, and I have the Maggie alien Funko Pop. It was a gift, but I have it because I enjoy this one. And nice. I love the bits of like, oh, Maggie lost her baby legs and that. But
that's a great joke. That's my favorite line in this episode. Ooh, like you were saying, her baby legs.
Like you were saying, Don, Jerry Springer was everywhere at this time, and I remember Jerry Springer being in Austin Powers 2. They did a bit on there, and it was great. But yeah, this doesn't age well. And I feel like now I don't know what the equivalent would be. I guess like going on Maury or something like that.
No, that would even be dated.
But they're still making Maury.
Is Maury
I guess they're
still on?
Yeah, Maury's still on. I think Springer's still on too, and so is Steve Wilkos. If we want to get deep into the daytime trash talk shows, but
I think Maury works as far as the paternity thing. I mean, because that's all we know him as now, as opposed to where he was before his show descended into that.
Oh yeah,
it was just a weekly paternity test.
It's gone downhill a bit. I love the bit where they pull Marge up into the spaceship and they show this like typical courtship of how, he can impregnate her, and then they just flash her with the light like Men in Black, and she's pregnant. But it reminded me of the scene, and I think it's maybe this season or it's the next season where Apu and Manjula have the octuplets, and the first half of the episode is Homer trying to help them conceive because that's Homer's job in that episode. And Homer starts writing these like skits for them to act out and role play. And one of them is they're in this convertible. It's just Apu's car that he chops the roof off of. And they're doing this awful dialogue where Apu's like, I scored the winning touchdown, and I think we should go all the way before I get shipped off to war tomorrow. And then Manjula says, like, oh, yes, why don't we do it before you go on your space moon trip expedition? Just all this stupid things. And that's just what it reminded me of. And it's that era of The Simpsons where they kind of have these funny little vignettes of tropes that I enjoy. But like you were saying, this one doesn't age well, but I still enjoyed watching it.
I will say my only other thought on this one is that Maggie's probably so much better off with Kang as her father than Homer. But
but she loves her father, and he loves her. That's why he still works at the nuclear plant. He does it for her, James. And her first word was daddy. So
it doesn't mean that it's a good place to be.
Not for nothing.
Also, the ceiling is not a safe place for a young baby, right?
I like Dr. Hibbert's prescription for this, though.
Fire?
Yeah, and lots of it.
Lots of it. I don't know. I have my notes here, and I don't know why I wrote this, and I don't know what it means, but I wrote Mormon's Lasso. Does that mean anything to you?
Oh, no. It's when they show up. When Kang and I forgot, that was one of my favorite jokes on this one. When Kang and Kodo show up, Homer reacts as like, oh, it's Mormons.
Oh, that's right.
And I forget. I think they say no. We're intergalactic Presbyterians or something.
And then they lasso him up into the ship, right? Is that what it is?
Well, they lasso when Marge is telling the story about it. The spaceship opens up and they drop a lasso down to capture her. To at least to a different way of abducting somebody than with the tractor beam, and then of course the claw that was used with Homer in Citizen Kang.
Mormons again, yeah. I remember now. Thank you for clarifying. That was going to bother me.
I got nothing else. Do you guys get anything on this?
Well, with this last one, with Starship Poopers, the whole thing is...
I could just listen to you say that all day.
Starship Poopers. Kang gets pissed off, right? And he starts shooting people in the audience and vaporizing them or whatever. They end up leaving, and I remember Kang Kodos basically say, "Oh, you did this, blah, blah, blah. We're going to kill every American politician until you give us Maggie." Right? And I love that Marge, again, like you two alluded to in this episode and earlier ones, Marge is the voice of reason, and she actually does a great thing with them. Where it's kind of like, you couldn't possibly kill every politician. Which is great because it's one of those things of, you don't get what her political allegiance is, but you get the idea of she's dissatisfied with the way things are. But you at least get Bart's perspective because he says, don't forget about Ken Starr. Which, again, very dated and definitely would have saved a lot of people a lot of trouble if Kang and Kodos had gotten to Ken Starr back in the during that year.
I don't like that this had nothing to do with Starship Troopers, because I would have loved to have seen them all fight space bugs. That's just me. I like Starship Troopers.
Would you like to learn more? I do have a serious genitalia question about Kang and Kodos. Okay. Or just the Rigelian 8s or whatever they're called.
And their long protein strands?
Yeah. No, it's the idea that, and I'm glad you brought that because that was where I was going with it. In Citizen Kang, there's a discussion about exchanging long protein strains, right? So they absorb or at least have osmosis or some type of skin-based transfer of fluids or material or whatever. So why wouldn't it be something? I mean, it's a great gag for them to flash, Marge with a light or a ray or whatever. But it makes you wonder, since we know that they can lay eggs, exactly what the genitalia, I guess, involves, or if they even have any, or even with the aspect of gender, because I think in one of the earlier episodes, Homer misgenders someone, and the comment is like, "Can't you tell I'm female?" He's just like, "No, you guys all look alike." And the great offense that, he's not aware of what they look like because he doesn't know how to tell the difference in them.
I thought it was like squid, where like a female squid will just shit a bunch of eggs and then the male will come and inseminate them or eat them. I figured it was something like that. I don't know. I'm not a space doctor.
I am a space doctor, and no, I'm not.
This concludes another episode of the Necronama.com with James Sabata, Don Guillory, and Thomas Sexbot Brungardt.
Oh yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you, Don. I've watched a lot of the Maury show. I don't know if you have, but how come black people can't say the word Maury? Because every episode it's like, "Do you think you're the father?" And they say, "Murray, I don't know. I don't think I am. Murray, I never fucked that girl. Murray? Ooh, Murray, let me tell you something. I'm not the father."